Welcome. Today what we're going to do is we're going to start working on our project, which is a book cover project bag. And to do that, we're going to use our brand new Spinifex Snowflake number 9, which, as you can see, has 2 sides to it. We're going to do some fun things with it. Makes great borders with the 1/2-inch circle. We're also going to use the new Spinifex Snowflake 10. Again, wonderful for borders, great as a Spinifex. Also have, both templates have this nice little flat side here to help us measure our distances between when we're doing projects. I have used these templates and absolutely love them. Here is just a little sample of how they turn out. And this is one of the book covers. We're going to be doing very similar to this. And let me introduce this product to you. It is a product of Wonderfil, and it comes totally ready for you to embellish and put together. Everything we need is included in here. Our clasp, our instructions, our pockets, and a mesh bag to go inside of it. So this can hold a whole lot of stuff, and I can't wait to get started on it. I hope that you are as excited about our new templates and our new project. So we will be back and we'll show you how it's done. Okay, so to begin, what I've done is this is the outside of my project. It's opened all the way up. You'll notice that there's a natural crease in it, and that's the way it comes. So I'm going to open this up. I am going to mark off 2 inches from the bottom. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because we're going to have a band across here. And on that band, we're going to do a little bit of template. So we're going to go ahead and put our designs on first. And if we run under this 2-inch mark, it's not a problem. But what we don't want to do is have a partial design and stop too high above that 2-inch mark. So it's just there to remind us that that's where we need to be. So the first embellishment I'm going to put on is going to be in this area here. And it's going to be the first snowflake. I'm going to do that with the Spinifex number 10. But in order to do that, so that it shows up really well, I have 2 choices to make. One, I can either put a piece of fabric down here using our template fuse, so that I can use a very high contrast thread and it will show up beautifully. Or I can use Wonderfil's 12 weight thread, which also will show up beautifully. I kind of like the idea of putting an applique down here and going ahead and stitching on top of it. So what I'm going to do is I've got a compass. I'm just going to cut out a circle after I've attached some template fuse to the back, and then I'm going to iron it onto here and use that for my Spinifex snowflake. But remember, when pressing on the wool, you will want to use a pressing cloth, and you don't want to use a real hot iron. You want to use one, medium heat iron, maybe just a tad warmer than that, and use the pressing cloth. And I don't use steam when I'm working on the wool projects either. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get that ready, and I will be back and we will start with our Snowflake Spinifex number 10. Okay, so my first step is to decide how large I want my little snowflake to be. And I have decided that my snowflake will be about 5.5 inches. So we have markings here that clearly delineate how large our designs will be. 6 inches, 6.5 inches, 7 inches, 7.5 inches, 8 inches. And it does the same on the other side of the template, which is very convenient. 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5 inches. So I am going to do this side of the template and I'm going to do 5.5 inches. So the first thing I did is I went ahead and I've got my fabric here. I have drawn a circle. I used a compass. You can use anything. A small plate even works very well. We're going to go ahead and cut that out. And then I'm going to template this. I'm going to attach it to the front of my book cover. So I am going to use paper scissors for this. I don't like to use my good scissors to cut paper. And I'm going to be careful cutting it out, and then I'm going to attach it. And then we will be here for the next step, which is going to be stitching our snowflake spinifex number 10. Okay, we're back. Uh, I have attached my template views and gone ahead and put my circle here. Now, if you'd like, and I would encourage you to do this, you could go around and applicate this down with a blanket stitch, a small zigzag blind hem stitch, whatever would work the best for you. My machine that I'm working on today is a vintage machine, has no stitches other than backwards and forwards. So I'm not going to be doing that today with this particular one that we're doing. I did make a mark right in the center so I know exactly where the center of my circle is. I'm going to make an 8 reference line crosshair on it. When I do this, I'm not going to hold it square onto the project. I'm going to tilt it a little bit. And the reason that I'm going to tilt it a little bit is just because it makes it look a little more artistic. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 8 reference lines in all the way out to the end of my circle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw in my center lines. Nope, I got that one a little bit off. No worries. We're just going to go ahead and go like this. And what I also want to do is I want to extend these lines out a little bit. And the reason being is you'll see when we put this on here, we don't have the lines extended out where we can line up real well. Although, it's close enough. I don't think I'm going to extend those lines out. I think that we're all good enough. We can see where those lines are supposed to be. So let's go ahead and get started. I have a regular 40 weight thread from Wonderfil in here. And I'm going to first adjust my foot. There we go. And the type of thread is confetti. I love confetti. Confetti and spaghetti are my 2 favorite threads. I love how they name their threads. I really do. I have Dazzle also. Dazzle is awesome for hand stitching. And I do enjoy hand stitching. And what I might do is use some of my Dazzle and hand stitch a blanket stitch around here. There we go. We're all set now. I'm going to go ahead and line myself up, starting in the center, of course. There we go. pull my bobbin thread up. I do like to do that. Now remember, the back of this is going to be covered up with a pocket, but you still want to keep it as neat as possible. I am going to turn this around so you can see better what I'm doing. And I think I'll try to bring it in just a, oh, there we go. Perfect. There we go. Hold those threads back. Line your template up. Take one stitch in place. I do that simply because I am a pro at making toe catchers. And if you don't know what a toe catcher is, it is a very long stitch when you first start out. And while I'm stitching this out, I also kind of want to give a shout out to my good old glider here, my small grid glider. This thing has been with me for years now, and I have yet to have to change it or do anything to it other than polish it. This has been such a faithful tool. Absolutely love it. Okay, I'm going to leave my needle down, and I'm going to very carefully snip off these threads in the center. Now, we don't have to bury these threads simply because they're going to be stitched over so many times that they will be adequately locked in. There we go. Remember, you don't need a death grip on this. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to turn it around, and I'm going to do the opposite side. When doing spin effects, I do like to go from side to side. There we go. And you'll see, even though the template comes over the outside of my circle, because I have a 1/4 inch leeway in here, it's not going to stitch outside of the circle. So here we go. I do like to go from side to side. I do also like to keep my stitches rather short when I'm doing curves. This isn't a race. Stitch at a speed that you're comfortable with. For me, that's a little on the slow side, but that's okay. And I am just going to go ahead, finish this up, and I will speed up the video so as to not bore you as I'm stitching. And this is our last rotation. And I'm sure you can see just how beautiful this template is. It makes our designs look so very intricate, and yet it's so easy to do. And here we go back to the beginning. Going to take a couple micro stitches here. There we go. And now I'm just going to clip these threads off. And here we go. This is our first design. Isn't it beautiful? I absolutely love this template. So intricate, and it looks just like a snowflake. Everyone is different, you know. That's what I hear. I've not checked it out personally, so I couldn't tell you for sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to break here. And then when we come back, we're going to start working on our next largest motif. And we're going to be filling in all around here. I have pulled out my mini Spinifex also. So I can't wait to get back, share some more with you. This is going to be a fun project, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Now we're ready to do our second motif. And again, we're going to use an 8 reference line crosshair. And I'm going to use my chalk liner with the ultimate pounce powder in it, which is Iron Away. And we're going to go ahead, and I do like to join up the vertical and horizontal crosshairs. There we go. So now I'm going to use the Spinifex Snowflake number 9. I have a couple of markings on it. On each of my odd numbered reference line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I'm going to use this side of the template. On all of my even numbered, I'm going to use this side of the template. So let's go ahead and start with our even numbers. And for those, I'm going to put my template out just a little farther, and that's why I have the 2 marks here, the 2 arrows telling me which direction or which length I'm going to use. So I'm sorry. I'll pull that thread up in the center. I'm using Wonderfil's 12 weight thread, which is thicker than our normal sewing thread. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and do the stitching in this direction so it's easier for you to see. Taking that first stitch in place. Now, some machines you may have to loosen your top tension a little bit. And don't try to rush through this process. You also want to make sure that you have at least a number 14 top stitch needle. I'm going to stop right there, and you'll see how nice that's turning out. We can clip this thread again because we're going to be stitching so many times in that center that it will definitely lock those stitches in. This is such a beautiful template, easy to use, and I love the results. Okay, we're going to come on the opposite side, line it up. beautiful. Okay, so now we've got the 4 arrow point. It does look like an arrow, but we have the tips on here, and that in and of itself just makes it beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Whoops, wrong one. Snowflake. But we're going to add to it, and I think I'm going to come right here to do that. Okay, and this is going to be our last rotation. Now remember, you can make these longer or shorter either way using the channel in the center. I've chosen to keep them rather short because my palette here, or my canvas, is not huge, not huge. And we're going to take a few locking stitches here, and we'll go ahead and clip our threads off. Isn't that adorable? Absolutely love this snowflake. It's unique, it's different, but we're going to pick it up a notch. So hang on, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the marks off, and then we're going to come back and we're going to show you how we're going to embellish it just a little bit more. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do, and I've done this before in my videos, and of course, remember all of these steps are optional. You can do them, you don't have to do them if you don't want. They're just things that I kind of like to do to make things does it just a little special. So what I've got here is I have what's called jacquard colorless extender. And what this is for, it is for fabric. And what it does is it's going to do 2 things today for us. One, it's going to give us a little bit of non-porous in surface on the felt. But the other thing is that it's going to help to make the paint that we are going to put on here more permanent. So here we go. And you see I've just got a small brush, just putting a little bit on here. If you let it dry, that's okay. Or you can put your paint on right away. I did find 2 coats works much better of the paint that we're going to use. And there we go. And I'll go around and do each one of the shapes. Now, what I'm using is called Luminaire, and it's by the same company, by Jacquard. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's kind of it's a acrylic paint, and it's made for fabrics, synthetic and natural fabrics. And I'm going to now go over the areas that I used the extender. And what this is going to do is it's going to give a nice iridescent look to the snowflakes. And I suggest 2 coats of the paint because it is a porous surface. And although the extender helps, it doesn't make it totally non-porous. So you will want to do a second coat. I will wait for this to dry, and then I will go ahead and add another coat of paint to it. Very easy to do, but you can see how it makes those shapes just come alive. So I'll go ahead and finish all this up, and then we will be back to do the next elements on our project. So now what I've done, after I've got my 2 large motifs done, I put an 8 point reference line here and here. Now, there is no measurements or anything. You should just put them where you think you like them. I may put another one up here. I have not made that decision yet. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my mini Spinifex. For this one, I'm going to use a Spinifex 11, and I'm going to use the 2.5 inch. And so I still have my white 12 weight thread in my machine, and that's the thread and the template that I'm going to use. The reason I like the 12 weight is simply because it shows up so much better. You need a thicker thread because the felt actually pulls the thread into it a little bit. So what's nice about that is it really gives the design some dimension. So here we go. It is going to encroach a stitch or two into the larger one. That's fine. Again, I am going to go ahead and trim this thread. Whenever we have Spinifex, we know that center is going to be well knotted in. Okay, what I'm going to do too is I'm going to pull you down a little bit so you can see better. Okay. I actually pushed a pause button, and what I'm doing is I wanted to make sure that we had the camera in a little better so you can see better. And I'm making 8 rotations of the mini Spinifex 11. I am using the 2.5 inch size. And here's our 8th rotation on the Spinifex 11 2.5 inch. Now, just a word of caution, when using the thicker thread, the center will tend to get quite heavy, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And it gets a lot of thread buildup in it. So what I do is I try to avoid it whenever I can. And there we go. Cute. I love the little mini Spinifex. Now up here, I'm going to use number, and this is just number 15. I have no real plan. I'm just grabbing them. And this time I'm going to use the 1.5 inch. And if you want, you could go to 6 rotations. You could just do 4 rotations. It's entirely up to you. And let's go ahead and get that down there. We go. And here we go. Yep. Got to find my foot. There, we've got it. What I have found when using the smaller templates, the circles, the mini spin effects, whatever template I'm using that's small, it's really, really important not to hold on too tight. If you relax your hands just a little bit, the whole stitching process is much easier. And when you have a template that's off the edge, such as this is here, you don't want to push on that stable tape, because it's going to hold you right there. You're not going to be going anywhere if you do. And around, I think I need to check my foot height. Looks like it might have slipped a little bit. And I know that because I've seen a couple skipped stitches. Skipped stitches means your foot is up too high. And I think for this one, I'm going to leave it with just the 4 rotations. Oops. There we go. It's just cute that way. It really is. There we go. I'm not going to paint these in or do anything to them. We're just going to have them sitting out here being snowflakes, falling down to the ground. Okay. There we go. Yeah, I think that's enough. Okay, I'm going to pull you back up a little bit. And there we go. We've got our front almost finished. So what I'm going to do next is I am going to go ahead and I'm going to iron off these reference lines. And then I am going to switch my machine around for some regular stitching. And we'll be back. We are back. And what I've done is I've got a 15.5-inch strip of fabric that I made 15.5 by 2.5. I folded down the sides, and underneath what I've got is a 1 3/4-inch piece of fabric. I did put temply fuse on here. We're going to do a little temply. I've gone ahead and placed it on the bottom portion of the portfolio, and I'm stitching it on just like a regular sewing machine. I know is when we do ruler work, you don't get to see this part very often. So here we go. I'm going to turn this around. There we go. And stitch it down right on the edge. Now, if you prefer, you don't have to just stitch it all down. You can do it raw edge as well. Either way will work. Just gonna smooth things out here. Keep it all going nicely. And I want to make sure that my bottom fabric does not stick out from my top fabric, because that is the one that's going to be templated. There we go. Make sure when you turn that you stop with your needle down. Lift your foot, make the turn. One more stitch. There we go. Lift the foot, make the turn. Now you see that I did cover up part of the spinifex that we did. That's okay. It makes it look more natural, more organic. There we go. Almost there. And you'll notice I have a snowflake fabric on. I thought it only fitting it proper. I'm going to go right to where I started. And then I'm going to go down a couple stitches and quickly take 2 stitches back. And now we're ready to take that out and clip off our threads. And there we go. Everything is stitched down beautiful now. And there's our band. You'll see that the portfolio still folds in half, just exactly the way it should. Isn't that pretty? I really, really like that little band on there. And then what we're going to do when we come back, we're going to go ahead and we're going to template a border on here using our snowflake number 10. So we'll meet you back here shortly. Okay, we're back. This will be the last, almost the last embellishment we put on the front of the portfolio. So I have got my strip secured on the front. I'm going to mark my halfway point. Just going to use a chalk liner to do that. Just going to come down, very easy, and mark a halfway point. There we go. Now I'm going to use the Spinifex Snowflake 10. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by lining it up at 7 inches. It's going to be 7 inches on this side, and I'm going to go ahead and mark that, make that center line mark up with my ruler. I'm going to go ahead and set my foot height. There we go. Pull my bottom thread up. First one is a little tricky. There's no doubt about it, because we got to get through a lot of bulk, plus the fact that we're right on the edge. So what's important when we're doing it like this is to make sure we're not holding our template back here where it's going to come in contact with the grid glider. We want to hold it up here where it's coming in contact with our project instead. And that's universal for any time we do a project like this. I'm going to take a stitch in place, and here we go. Take a hesitation stitch here because we want that point to be nice and pointy. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come back up to the point. Doesn't matter which side we work on. Once we decide on that, we're going to do the opposite side each time. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and clip this thread. Well, I think I'm going to clip that thread. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to move my template up, line my needle up again with that same line. Now you could choose to go further, you could choose to go shorter. That's just kind of where I chose to go. So there we go. I'm going to make another rotation. Take my hesitation stitch. Now, it's not necessary to go all the way back to where you started. You can just come back to the design and then make your second line of stitching, keeping it opposite of the first one. The first one I did on the right, this one I'm doing on the left. I'm going to go ahead and move my template up and repeat. I'll speed up the tape so you don't have to sit and watch me do this in real time. It's just a matter of repeating what we've already done. There we go. We've gone the whole length. I tied off the ends with some back stitching. And we're going to go ahead and clip our threads. And now we have this beautiful border here, but we're going to go one step further. What we're going to do is, first I'll just go ahead and get rid of some of those markings. So now I've got my seam ripper. I'm going to go ahead and come in and just the first layer of fabric, I'm going to open that up. Like to feel it with my finger to make sure I've only got one layer of fabric here. There we go. These are not big spaces, guys. So we need to pull as much as we can, but obviously we need to be very careful not to get the reveal fabric under that seam ripper. And the more you do it, the easier it will become to feel right here if you have one piece of fabric or two. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and take my snippers. Love these little things. They work great. And we're going to come around and we're going to just trim out and show the reveal fabric. And you want a good contrast between these two fabrics. Because if they don't have a good contrast, all of this templating will result in pretty much nothing. So, how do I know that? Well, I've tried fabrics I thought were high contrasting, but portions of them were not. And of course, those are the portions that I ended up cutting out, and you couldn't really even tell that I had templated anything. So, please learn from my mistakes. That's what I always tell my students. Learn from my mistakes. Don't make them on your own. And they're too expensive and time consuming. Use the experiences of people who are teaching you, and it's okay. It's perfectly okay to do that. But it's perfectly okay to make mistakes on your own too. Goodness, if I got upset over every mistake I ever made, I'd spend my life in tears. Don't want to do that. Too much quilting to do. Okay. I'll go ahead and speed this up so you don't have to watch me do all of these. Okay, so there we've got all of our Spinifex number 10 snowflakes. There we go. Template out. One more thing before we're done with this project. I'm going to use my paint again. And again, this is Jacquard metallic silver luminaire. You could use white. You definitely use what you want. This time, what I'm going to do is I am going to make snowflakes falling from the sky. And after I get the paint off my fingertips. Okay, this is very easy to do. You can use a Q-tip. I have these little things that I use for painting. It works well also. I'm just going to go ahead and put it like this so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just making dots, literally making little dots. And I'm going to make them all over. And I think a Q-tip would work better. So I'm going to put you on hold and go grab one. Okay, I'm back. I'm just going to take on the tip of the Q-tip here. There we go. I think that looks so much nicer. And we're just going to make dots of paint. And what's that going to represent? You got it. Snowflakes. Snowflakes falling down. And we're going to do that all around. And they can come down into the border as well. You can put as many or as few in as you like. And I'm going to go ahead and do it all across this. So I'm going to go ahead and put you on hold. And as soon as I'm done here, we'll come back and finish up today's project. And here we go. We've got our project all finished up on the outside. So now I'm just going to wait for the paint to dry, and then I'm going to follow the instructions and put the inside together. And then we'll have our Astron and book portfolio you can take with you for quilting retreats. There's a whole lot of pockets and a lot of places that you can put things in. I certainly want to thank you for joining me for this project. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have enjoyed bringing it to you. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can go sewstay.com. Under the Elevate tab, there is an instructors list, and you can find all my contact information there. I hope to see you real soon with some more new and exciting projects.